anything else that you'd like to address or anything else? I'll open up to questions from the citizens or staff. Either or.
Charles Gillette, 29 Harbor Road. My question is on the industrial, the roll-offs. If someone's building a home and they have a general contractor, that general contractor has a different company to use a different roll-off company, would he be required to use
Yes.
Republic
Yes.
under
Under the franchise agreement.
all circumstances on that? Okay.
And all those other companies will be notified that they shouldn't be doing business in Groves.
Okay.
Then the only difference would be if they own their own roll-off container.
Or they use the smaller ones that are under 10 yards. The dump trucks, if you will. Yeah, find ways to get around everything.
Size wise, what are we talking about for a 10-yard dumpster? Is that a 6-seater golf cart or, I mean, what?
That's probably the 8x10s.
I think the one right here at the activity building is an 8,
That's an 8-yard front load.
so just a little bit bigger than that.
Just look, but they're not gonna be as tall, they're gonna be shorter and a little longer. You see them on the back of the
Yeah.
trailers.
So the ones we get for Christmas, those are 20,
Those are 40-yard.
40s. Okay, so you're talking big
That's big
stuff.
dumpster.
So the one across from the activity building with the sliding doors, like that's.
That's
That's
8.
an 8-yard
That's
dumpster.
Yeah.
But
So
that's
a
rated on the side.
20-yard is 8 foot wide, about 20 foot long and 4 foot high.
Okay.
So imagine half of that.
So most of your little dump bed trailers, they're gonna be smaller than that. They're gonna be what, 5-ish?
They range anywhere from like 4, 6, 8, 10.
Yeah. So again, there's ways around everything.
Nice. I know a lot of smaller businesses have small dumpsters, maybe 4 yards or whatever they are.
Well, now the businesses have, that's the commercial account.
Okay.
Those are already, you just pay for a dumpster.
Those would all be your front loaders. Like you can name off your businesses right down the road, Act One. It's got a 2-yard front
Yeah,
load.
right.
That's what.
So, but this franchise, 10 yards and up.
That's for the roll-offs, not the dumpsters.
Okay.
Right.
So do we have any requirements on dumpsters or? Yeah, it's commercial.
That's commercial.
Okay. And so, businesses are still free to use who they want to there?
No.
For 1
That's
year,
commercial.
and then everybody would have to go through Republic.
Okay.
And it would be billed back to the city. Or billed to Republic, and they pay us.
So what's the smallest, dumpster you guys offer? Like
Front load is a 2-yard, so 2-yard, 4-yard, 6-yard and 8-yard. Then the roll-offs, we have 20s, 30s, 40s, and then compactors. With a contract with us, the company could own their own compactor or they could lease one through us. And then you're talking totally custom, it could be a through the wall installation. It might need a locking doghouse hopper. Could be a 35-yard, a 30-yard, a 42-yard. So
I'm just mainly thinking about the 2 and 4 yard stuff for small business,
Yeah.
that's.
Most of them are already paying for that. They already have it, because when we did away with our commercial can pickup, they had to either go to Republic or go to one of the other ones anyway.
Yes.
But they will have to go to Republic. Well, whoever is chosen, but like Mr. Kevin said, with our group, there could be an actual discount for not being on your own and being part of a larger group. But on the pricing is, it's out there, but for your question, the people who are gonna have the 2 4s and 6s, they already have them.
Yeah.
They're already using them. They're already paying for them.
But
There really wouldn't be a change except for maybe the color of the dumpster.
they have them through whomever right now.
83% through Republic, the rest. Whatever. And then, like Kevin said, they would have an opportunity to keep their contract for up to a year without having to switch.
And if we were to go with this exclusive franchise, do we have a means to contact folks, businesses and residences in the community that are using our non-preferred vendor?
Well, we have the two main other providers. We would notify them. And they would,
Oh,
they'd be able to tell us who they have. That would be
That's
virtually
administrative.
100% of the.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other questions from the audience, citizens? All right, everybody good with moving on to the next item? Okay, thank you for that, Mr. Kevin. Item number 7, be deliberate on the amending the chapter 21, article 3 of the code of ordinances to prohibit game rooms and gaming machines. This is in response to our moratorium that was extended and is up, I believe, November 18th or something along those lines. November 18th, 2025.
Yes.
Okay. Mr. Kevin, do you have a brief history for us or starting point?
Yes, sir. Just to remind you of where we came from or how we got here. Back in November of last year, we instituted a 6-month moratorium on game rooms or applications. Because we started to get kind of flooded basically with applications for new game rooms. And that was the direct result of some of our surrounding communities tightening up their ordinances, making it tougher on those businesses. And so they came to Groves because it was relatively easier to do business. We ended up extending that moratorium by 6 more months. In the meantime, any of those existing businesses that had their permits come due during the moratorium, those have been extended to the moratorium date, which is coming up here next month. And they pay a pro rata share of the permit fee. Since we did that, the initial moratorium, there's been some resolution with, everybody was waiting on the resolution of the Supreme Court case that the city of Fort Worth was fighting, and that was resolved in the city's favor. And so now you've seen, especially once the legislature gavelled out earlier this year, a number of cities, including Jefferson County and Orange County, have all outright banned game rooms. So what the council needs to consider now is we have basically 3 options. One is to continue allowing game rooms with permits and certain conditions, as long as they're compliant with state law. Then option 2 is to eliminate gambling devices but allow amusement redemptions. And then, of course, the third option is just to ban them outright. And there are pros and cons to each one of those. Can tell you that from the city's perspective, these do bring in a fair amount of revenue from the permit fees. I have asked the marshal, you go ahead and come up and tell us real quick. He did some research on any calls for service at the existing game rooms. I wanted him to share that with you, just so you have that information at hand.
Mayor and council, excuse me.
So I compiled all of our calls for services for our remaining 5 active game rooms or gas stations that have gaming machines located in them. The only one that I was not able to pull any records for, I pulled from October of 24 to today's date, just so we have the last 365 days worth of the calendar to look at and assess. Bonus game room 5130 did not have a single call for service in that time frame.
Where is that?
I'm sorry, 5130 Twin City Highway. That was one of the first ones that was established in the city.
That's the one by West End.
That's correct, neighboring, yes, sir. However, on 5170 Twin City Highway, which is the most recent opened, it's in that far end of that same building in the big lots, that's right. Off the top of my head, I can't think of what the name of that gaming room is. We've had 4 calls for service in the last 12 months.
How long has that one been open?
6 months.
That's about, yeah, about,
They just
yeah,
opened.
it's very,
They were
very
doing remodel. They just opened in
relatively new.
September.
You'll remember that's the one where the car ran into
That's
the.
right.
A month now.
When that happened, they'd only been open like a week.
Very short period of time.
It was an
Oh,
accidental run-in or an intentional
I
run-in?
believe it was intentional. Stolen
Intentional,
vehicle.
you said?
Yeah, intentional. Stolen vehicle out of Houston, driven around the pylons to protect the entryway, down the sidewalk directly into the building, without the individual entering the premises at all. After the contact, he fled the scene.
So from that address, been open roughly a month? We've had 4 calls in a month or?
Yes, there was 4 in that time period. Obviously, I pulled data from the whole year, but everything that generated for this particular property was only in that time frame. So from the 3rd of September.
3rd of September to present.
Correct.
4 calls there.
Correct. First was initially, obviously, that response to the damage to the front. And a couple of follow-ups that our staff had to the facility, secondarily to that investigation. So 3 calls for service, but all spawning from that one matter.
Okay.
And then a very general criminal trespass warning for an individual that was then C2 warned from every facility in the Big Lots area. So again, not specific to that business. So 3 specific to the business spanning from that one call. And then additional that applied to all the businesses. Next, if you look at 6900 32nd Street. At that location, and so with that date range, the calendar year, it'll be from December 13th, which was the most recent in that period. I'm sorry, the farthest away in that period that I ran. We had 1 follow-up to a prior investigation that was unrelated to the gaming machines. That was in December 13th of 24. And then we did have 2 disturbances, not specific necessarily provable to the fact that there are gaming machines there. But we did have someone that was causing a disturbance inside the facility. And when they were notified that police were called, they left the scene and were gone prior to our officers' arrival. We had a individual that was loitering about that was sent on his way. That was June of this year. And then we did have another domestic disturbance, July of this year. Began outside the premises, included inside as after it initially was began, and then officers took a report from one individual. And then finally, August 3rd of this year, we had another disturbance inside the business and in the parking lot. Again, no way to prove that it was a specific direct relation to a gaming machine, but it was an uptick from the prior period that we scanned for this particular location when they requested their specific use permit last.
That location, that's 6900 32nd, is that a convenience store?
It
gas
is.
Station?
That's correct.
Marshall, let me put you on the spot for a second.
Sure.
From your experience, do you find that these game rooms do not report because they don't want the attention?
I think that's possible. I can attest to a few interactions that I've had with individuals that want to make formal complaints or reports. All the way on the far side of that spectrum, I've had some humorous calls where people were dissatisfied that they didn't get the winnings they anticipated they should get. But in either case, I can't necessarily portray that that's a direct result of how that one was run or how it was
From your
operated.
experience about being in law enforcement.
Sure. I think there's very little positive we can describe as relates to the attention that these locations bring. I think with the state's lack of committing to hearing those cases at the highest level, Supreme Court, I think that really puts onus on the local governments to try to comply with state as much as possible. I know that the Attorney General, the Texas Attorney General, is very, very specific when he says any machine of this nature that has chance related to it at all should be defined as gaming. I think that makes it very, very difficult for local municipalities to be able to say anything beyond that is legal. I think there's a lot of challenges that come with it. Absolutely.
Right. So with everybody in the area closing them, not allowing them,
Sure.
and we're the only one that has them. Your thoughts? Is that gonna draw them people here?
Oh, it'll certainly draw
Absolutely.
attention to our city. There's no doubt.
Right.
And I think the risks that go beyond that is if we are the only location that is not in compliance with that idea, I think it's better to follow suit with what our neighboring cities and agencies are doing.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Marshall,
Yes, sir.
you gave reports on 3 addresses.
I do have more if you'd like to hear the rest.
I would.
Sure.
How many were there? I'm sorry, how many were there total at 6937?
So the 6932nd location, that is five in that year period.
Just to be clear though, it is a gas station, so
Correct.
things happen in the parking lot, go inside. Yeah, convenience store gas station.
2 more reports.
Yes.
So that you have them all.
Yes, thank you.
Next, 2610 Main. This is actually an extension to a gas station that is there. This is the location that had 2 specific use permits. Unfortunately, earlier the year, they were found to have some violations, and after an appeal, the appeals group decided that they did violate ordinance and lost that permit. But with 2610, they were in compliance. And since October of last year, we only have 2 calls for service. Both of these are simply burglary alarms that were tripped by an employee opening the business and failing to enter the correct passcode. So in both of these instances, which are the only 2 calls for service at this specific location, 2 individuals that opened up and didn't have it or didn't recall or didn't enter it quickly enough. And when officers checked by, they were employees. They were able to prove up who they were and everything checked fine there. And then last but not least, 5235 39th Street. This is Treasures. I haven't covered this one yet, correct? I'm making sure I didn't mix up my paperwork here. We've had 2 since October of last year, February and July of this year. We had an elderly individual strike the building with their vehicle, a minor accident in the parking lot that touched the building there. Officers responded and deemed it was an accident, and I believe a crash report was generated as a result of that. And then secondly, we did have a domestic disturbance there as well. A subject was causing disturbance inside the store. Officers were contacted. The individual that was being called on was told, hey, police are on their way. They fled the scene, so we were not able to speak with that individual. But then we were contacted by the business owner in that instance and responded due to that disturbance. So two calls for service at that location.
Marshall, looking at all of these service calls for these individuals, on the ones that were disturbances, the loitering, the domestic, any of the disturbances where calls were, did you see that majority of these calls were originated by the business owners?
Many of them were, yes, sir.
Okay.
In fact, I'd say probably 85+% was generated by the owners of the businesses.
So Mr. Cruz, and Mr. Monk, I guess moving into this, can y'all give us a little more of a rundown of the like legalities that have come down from the Fort Worth decision and any exposure, whether we have it, whether, no matter which way we go, where we expose ourselves to litigation or suits or anything in any of the three options? If you don't mind.
It's gonna be explained the Fort Worth.
Yeah, explain the Fort Worth case a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah, the Fort Worth case is fairly complicated to understand because it dealt with a number of issues. I think the one issue that is very clear now is that eight liners, to the extent we're talking about eight liners versus another category called amusement redemption machines, which is a different kind of an exchange for prizes. Texas law allows amusement redemption machines. It now clearly says that cities can ban these eight liners. I think the conversation is simple when you're talking about eight liners. It's a harder conversation when you're talking about, can we ban all game rooms throughout the city that would have amusement redemption machines within them? Because there is a path within state law where that is allowed. And we have always had difficulty with going further as a city than state law would allow us to restrict, because that's where I think the city has potential liability. When you start to say, well, the state has a restriction in place and the city wants to go further than that, often the cases will say, well, the city is preempted from going further than what the city has done and what the state has said we could do. So those are my concerns in terms of liability. I think that the fact that if you look at the bans that are being done in other areas, for example, the county and in Orange, I looked at those closely. What they did to ban was they actually defined these terms differently. They went in and they said, we're going to ban eight liners and we're going to define what amusement redemption machines are. And we're going to make that as broad as we can in terms of city enforcement so that it brings under the city umbrella our ability to give tools to the police to enforce within the city for amusement redemption machines, where all those would have to be registered. So I think there's a sort of a hard decision about, do you want to go so far as to say they're all out? That's potential liability. If you wanted to say eight liners are out, that's probably clearly established now with the city of Fort Worth.
Is there a clear way to determine the difference between an eight liner and a amusement redemption? Is it a specific what am I looking for? Company, that manufacturer? Is there the way the game is set up? I mean, what's the
Extremely
difference?
convoluted. Many of them mimic as closely as they can those gambling machines because the lights, the sounds, they're attractive, they bring in attention, but the way they function is different. Some of them do have the chance element to it, but because they're in compliance with the no more than $5 or 10 times the value that you insert when you play them, if they can show, look, we have no cash, we give nothing but these prizes, fuzzy animal prize, I think is the quote. But then you also have some entities that say, look, our machine, it is skill only, there is no chance. And when you have the Attorney General of the state saying, if there's even a fraction of a chance element in it, I consider it gambling. And that's why we're going to try to pursue it as the state. That makes it very, very difficult for us on the local level to look at a machine and say, okay, well, break open the inside of it. Tell me how this machine works. How much of this element is chance? If every single time you insert a product to begin the machine and its winnings have been calculated, well, it's an element of chance there. Every time I put my number and my money in the machine, the value in theory that I can gain out of it with this redemption prize changes. Well, there's an element of chance there. And that element of chance makes it very, very difficult versus the skill-based. For instance, we did, and I forwarded this information to the city and the attorney. We had some machines at a specific business where no permit was ever requested. And that particular company actually goes to district attorney's offices first. And they show their product and they say, you play the machine, see how every element of this machine's playthrough is skill only. would you prosecute us if we had a machine like this in the state or in your county, for instance? And a lot of those DAs would say, oh, no, I probably wouldn't. This looks solely skill-based to me. And so then they would start applying those in different businesses without permitting because it doesn't match a gaming room style ordinance. So that's a whole other aspect of that question that you asked. It's not simple to define any of these. Some of them you can look at very, very quickly and say 8-liner. But others look like when you play it, it operates a little bit differently. It becomes a whole nother hassle to try to define which one of these is it, and is there a portion of chance and therefore complies with, or does not comply with the state's mandate or requirement? It's not an easy assessment, I hate to tell you.
So Marshall, I think we're talking about the same, there's a convenience store with 2 machines in it currently. In the city, and those machines are operating as of today. Do we have any recourse as a city to shut those down? Because apparently we tried. We got kicked back.
Well, we tried to bring the case to the district attorney's office, is my understanding.
That's right.
of that.
We,
We did not attempt to prosecute it within the city municipality.
Correct. We went the gambling route because that specific device advertises as cash payout. And
Cashier.
that's right. And any specific chance-based gambling machine that has cash payout, according to the state, is a gambling machine. That's the group that says, hey, look, we have no chance. This is solely skill-based. Yeah, those are the ones that we're discussing. And we actually generated a case, submitted to the district attorney's office, and it sat with them for their review. That company actually went to our district attorney months before and presented their machines. And, they didn't say, well, look, I'm going to tell you yes or no. It doesn't look like we would at this time. As they diagnosed that software and how it functioned, the district attorney deemed it is skill-based. And because of that, if you look at all the ordinances really across the state, and if you look at the state law, there is no definition for solely skill-based. There's definition for redemption, there's definition for 8-liner, there's definition for a lot of these machines, but not the skill-based solely. And so I think a lot of companies, as they were seeing some of the writing on the wall, the state not deciding, hey, look, are these illegal, yay or nay? Some of the case law pending. I think a lot of those organizations, or some of them, said, hey, look, let's get together, come up with an idea that's not reflected right now, and there's no way to litigate it or enforce it.
So to be clear, we have 2 machines in a gas station. They do not have a permit through the city. They're operating in the city, and you can win money there at those machines.
That's correct.
That's, those 2 machines are out there.
Skill-based according to the district attorney, and therefore non-enforceable because of the lack of state law.
So, Mr. Monk, do we have any legal grounds to be able to permit those types of machines, these skill-based machines that give money payouts when cashier?
It's my opinion, they should be registered now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So who within the org chart of our city is in charge of enforcement and auditing of the machines currently?
Several
So
ED
the police department and fire department?
Does our ordinance have to be changed to address the skill base?
I think that it could probably evolve, but I think that it would handle this situation in terms of registration of the machine, the simple registration aspect of it. Now,
Okay. Marshall, while you're here, and
Yes, sir.
and Monk, you can help us as well. But let's talk about what would make a machine illegal. The machine itself obviously doesn't do anything except spend and take money in. Where does the illegal act come in? Is it redemption tickets? Is it how redemption tickets are played out? Is it exchange of cash money? Is it exchange of prizes? What aspect makes it enforceable for prosecution? Taking one machine.
Very broad question. So if we do have legally established city ordinances and it violates those, then obviously from a city standpoint, from a local standpoint, we have an enforcement mechanism there. If it fits, if it's the definitions that are established in that ordinance and the regulations that we place through that ordinance to maintain and regulate how that business or machine is operated. I think yes. If it gives a redemption of any amount or type that can be redeemed for a value greater than what the state allows, that's gambling, that's illegal. Has to be proven up, you have to be able to establish that. But if it does that in any way, that's illegal. If it provides anything beyond a prize amount rewarded no greater than $5 or the 10 times the amount that you've entered in the machine, and there's chance at all, the state argues that that's a gambling machine. And so in that case, again, we would have something greater than an ordinance. It'd be a violation you would push towards the district attorney's office. But if it's solely skill, it has to have a definition in place, and the state does not have a definition yet in place. And neither does our local ordinance for solely skill-based machines. I think for us to be able to enforce that, we would need that definition established.
I think state law in terms of the fuzzy animal exception is a real problem, because how do you define that? I think everyone has had problems defining that, and even a small prize done many, many times over has an added value. And that's what, I think that's what we have. So it's legal for one transaction, but if you add up many of these transactions, then they're skirting the law. And the fuzzy animal exception is the problem. And that's state law. That is not.
So. Explain to me the fuzzy animal thing. I'm missing.
It's about the size of the award that you can give a prize.
Okay,
And so.
so you want a fuzzy animal when you go redeem it?
You can give small prizes that are like fuzzy animals, but you can't give gold bars.
Oh,
But if you give small redemption prizes that are like fuzzy animals that can be a cumulative value, then you're enticing people to do it. And I think it has value added together cumulatively.
so we're talking about chance and redemption and the term gambling, throwing that around loosely. The state of Texas, we do have a lottery and scratch off system, right? That's the state's way of whatever. Marshall, is there a way for you to run a report on convenience store call outs that sell lottery tickets? And just determine if we've got that level of disturbances that we have around game rooms on these stores as well?
What you'd have to do is just run every location by address, similarly to how we did this last report, and then just compare them. You know, these are the calls for service for the categories that are strictly non-game room. These are the ones that are a combination of the two with lottery as well, and these are the solely lottery or something along those lines. I think you would still fall into the same ship that we did today, where you have a variation of calls for service. I don't think you would be able to clearly articulate there that every call there was a result of vice versa. But at the same time, does not necessarily imply that it's innocent either. It would just be a negative that can't be proven.
So as a city, are we legally obligated to sell lottery tickets from the state? Or is that a store owners
I
available?
think the real question would be, does the state prohibit it?
Yeah, and the state, it does not prohibit a lottery.
They have specific state law establishing the legality and the proper path.
Say we couldn't do that, we would be going above and beyond the state statute, which is the same with what we're discussing now is. State says no for gambling machines, but yes for amusement based. So we're trying to decide here, but the state says the lottery's fine, so we couldn't go above and beyond and say no lottery tickets.
Oh, so okay.
We can't go further
That's my
than-
question.
than the,
So we can't ban lottery tickets.
Probably not, because the state law would prevent
Okay.
that by allowing it. It's saying that's a good example, because state law will allow this to a certain degree, and we have to be careful with that.
Gotcha, thank you. Well, just trying to find the line.
yeah, the line is, we know that certain types of gambling are illegal. Certain types are allowed.
Okay.
And we don't get to decide which ones pass where they've already set their
Gotcha.
line.
Perfect.
Places where you walk out with a prize that you won that doesn't exceed that value, great. Places that you walk away with more money than you entered with, we have a problem.
What's a scratch off?
When it comes to gaming
I'm
machines
just-
specifically, yeah.
Yeah.
Because state law establishes that the lottery system through the state is the, just like raffle.
I just wanted to understand like what we can't
Sure.
put ordinance for in the city.
Mr. Kevin, is there anything else you'd like to touch on at this time? Did you say no? Sorry, I wasn't looking at you, so.
Now, I'm trying to think, what the pleasure of the council is.
I don't think we've gotten there yet.
If,
Yeah.
If you're asking if we want it or not, I say no. I think we ought to follow what the county's done and all the surrounding cities have done. So if you're asking our personal opinions at this time, yes or no, I'd say no.
We have two meetings before the moratorium.
Yeah.
Three.
two in October, and then the first one in November, the 18th is moratorium.
Mr. Monk, is there anything that you would like to add or caution us on before, obviously no decisions can be made tonight, but tidbits, information, anything that would help us guide our way to the next decision that is being pressed upon us at this time?
I would say, it's worth looking at exactly what was done at the county and at Orange level. Because they use specific words like amusement redemption machine and gambling devices, which is what I think the city may have to consider. And although they're being announced to the media as though they're game room bans, they're a little bit more nuanced than that. They're broad as the gambling devices and they're broad as the A-liners. But this dance that they're doing about amusement redemption machines still is in the Orange ordinance. So I think that's worth looking.
Okay.
If we were to continue, gaming room ordinances, would that open us, the city up to any obvious legal direct exposure?
Continuing what would.
I mean, if we were continue to allow game rooms, in the city with the new statutes that kind of been said.
Well, I think what you want to be careful of is that you don't allow gambling devices. I
Yes.
mean, you gotta be very clear that you're not allowing gambling devices, and to the extent that you have the ability to take action with respect to those, and the city should do that. But the other question is just a little bit tougher, when you get into that other category, but I think that's the main one and the clear message.
Well, I guess one of the things that may have been when brought up when talking about this was, if one of these establishments was discovered to be doing something illegal, what is the city's exposure for how they were conducting their business? Is that similar?
Yeah,
something.
that's it.
So if we continue where we're at right now, and we didn't change anything, and one of the establishments was raided or busted or whatever, found to be doing illegal things. What's the exposure to the city? And I mean, I think there wouldn't be any, because we don't dictate how they conduct their business. We just dictate how they are supposed to conduct their business.
Yeah, I don't see that as an area where the city would have liability. I think that if the city had reports of, illegal activity and then they were not enforcing, then that might be a different story, but that's certainly not the case, so I don't see liability with that.
Thank you, Jeff.
So perhaps Mr. Monk can draft some proposed wording and we can discuss it at the next meeting. Not an action item, but
I believe a discussion topic, not necessarily a workshop, but if we want to put an agenda item with no action to be taken, any information brought forward as far as definitions or structure of agreements or anything like that. I think that's beneficial. And if it takes more than one meeting, it takes more than one meeting.
Just for approval of verbiage.
To decide how to move forward, but if we're gonna move forward any direction, we need to know what that looks like. Obviously, if we continue the way we are right now, there's still the aspect of how to permit the amusement only machines that is not being addressed in our current standards. So even that would have to be addressed. If we were to go the county route, which is no 8-liners, but allow the amusement machines. That's verbiage that needs to be cleared as to how to determine which one's which. And then the all-out ban of all game rooms, which could potentially be tougher, verbiage for that as well. And how those look and how it could be implemented and also enforced. What's the enforcement? How do we enforce any of the rules that we actually put in play? Any other council comments at this time or questions? Okay, this time, are there any members of the audience or citizens that would like to speak? I got one raised their hand. Okay, Mr. Campese, Don, would you give him the mic, please? I know, I'm not gonna make him stand up, so. Name and address, please.
My name's Michael Campy, 657 Verde Street in Groves. To the marshal, there's one, business is giving out store credits. And they do that instead of giving items that they normally give. They're giving out store credit. That's vouchers.
It's my understanding that any process along those lines would allow a form of membership, which is specifically and expressly forbidden under the Texas law that I'm understanding of. I don't believe that is allowed.
I think memberships are forbidden, but if there was a discount coupon or something like that that didn't require a membership, then I could see that potentially falling under a fuzzy animal type of an exception for a small prize.
Well, this individual just tells me he goes in where he'll get a couple of beers. They'll give him a couple of beers, for credit, or they'll give him, cupcakes or something. Like a voucher.
If I'm correct, the monetary, it's about the monetary amount. It can't exceed anything. Even in the store, gift, whatever, can't exceed a certain amount. So if he is given, it depends on what he charges for the beer, so as long as that doesn't succeed, it's like a fuzzy bear.
Well, I think Mr. Monk touched to that earlier in the discussion, when he said if you're compiling all these things for a grand prize that exceeds these numbers, then that could very well be a problem.
Yeah, and I think, Marshall, we would also have to be careful as to, how any of this information, because, Mr. Campy's, no offense, the guy could be lying to you.
Yeah.
So, that would have to be
Somebody'd have to
the
see.
burden of proof for anything like that would have to be, to go way beyond, someone just having a conversation.
Absolutely.
But I think apparently the need is the definition of how redemption or accreditation or however it works. We would have to have a direct, flat out definition, line by line, so that anyone that could be potentially applying for one of these permits understands what they can and can't do based on state law versus also what we as a city would want. Do you agree with that?
Personally, I think that's one of the reasons they are opting into just following suit with a lot of the other, starting with Fort Worth and then spreading. Taking up this challenge and having it well-rounded and thorough and appropriate in all circumstances is not going to be easy or simple. Now, it doesn't necessarily mean it shouldn't be done, but it's difficult.
Okay.
Got one other thing.
Okay.
We charge $1,000 per machine.
It's 1,500.
1,500 machine. Is there any limit that we can set on?
Yeah, so those numbers were based off of, what recommendations for money. You can't generate funds, you can only recover funds that's based off of, what we consider expenditures to operate. Is that correct?
Correct. It's got to reflect.
It's not a revenue source. It's a redemption, or I say redemption, that's a terrible word for that. Reimbursement for expenditures for permitting and fees and all the things that go in for us to be able to allow them to work. Yeah, you can't just say $10,000 a machine. The state limits that as well.
Right.
Okay, I'm sorry, someone else had their hand up. Name and address, please.
Hi, my name is Cindy Flores, 2742 Terrace Drive. Good evening, Mayor and esteemed members of the City Council. My name is Cindy Flores and I'm here tonight. Can y'all hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
I'm here tonight on behalf of Mr. Stephen Markintel, the owner of the bonus room at 5120 that he mentioned that has had no calls for service. And has been established for 8 years in your city. And in those 8 years has had 8 calls for service. The liquor store near us and the apartments behind have had quite a few more. Mr. Markintel deeply regrets that he cannot be here in person to address you himself. He very much desired to engage with you personally, but his health is in deep decline and he is unable to attend. He sends his sincerest apologies and has asked me to deliver these words on this critical situation involving game rooms in our city. We understand that this workshop is likely the result of recent actions in other parts of Jefferson County and the public statements made by County Judge Jeff Brannick. We respect Judge Brannick, but it is essential for the record of this city to be clear and accurate of the law. The recent court decision in City of Fort Worth versus Riley declared that 8-liner machines are unconstitutional lotteries. Judge Brannick has interpreted this to mean they are illegal statewide. However, this interpretation is not a binding mandate on the city of Groves. The proof is in the actions of Jefferson County itself, as well as any other counties or cities which had to amend its own local ordinance to enact a ban. If the machines were already illegal under the state penal code, no new law would have been needed. Furthermore, the state of Texas itself sends a conflicting message. Just last week, Mr. Markintel received paperwork from the Texas State Controller's Office to renew and pay the state taxes on his 8-liner machines. The state cannot simultaneously tax a business as a legal entity while also declaring it to be a criminal enterprise. This legal gray area, combined with the fact that the Texas legislature chose not to pass a statewide ban this year, confirms a core principle, being that the decision to regulate, permit, tax, or prohibit game rooms rests with you, the leaders of this city. You have the power to ban us, but you are under no legal obligation to do so. And the question is, why would you? The stories you hear from places like Vidor and Beaumont are concerning. Those establishments were dens of many crimes, and we do not blame those cities for taking the actions they did. But their story is not our story. Their problems are not our problems. Here in Groves, we have a different reality. I have known Nathan Walters of Treasure's Game Room for over 20 years. We speak multiple times a week about how to maintain clean, safe, and welcoming places that show our commitment to this city. I have also known the owner of the game room down, the one that just had the recently car drop through. When that happened, they reached out for help with overnight security to be established. I immediately worked with property management to have that job staffed, starting that very same day and continuing every night since. We, the 3 game room owners in this city, care deeply about our impact on Groves, on our neighbors and our fellow citizens. We do not allow drugs. We do not allow intoxicated people. We don't even allow smoking. We do not allow the thug class of citizens that have given our industry a bad name elsewhere. We manage our businesses properly to keep secondary crime away. That is what we do in Groves, and that is why you do not have the problems here that other cities do. Some time ago, Mr. Markintel personally asked for the city's fees to be raised on our machines so that we could benefit the city in a bigger way, out of respect for allowing us to exist. We welcome fair regulation because it protects our businesses and our community. Until we become a problem, or until the state of Texas actually passes a law that bans game rooms. We ask that you continue to allow us to be quiet, safe, and highly taxable establishments that we have proven ourselves to be. This brings me to a final simple question for the council. In a small community like Groves, operating on a tight budget, does it make fiscal sense to ban a few game rooms that are causing no documented problems and that are generating six figures of tax revenue a year for the city? I thank you as always for your time, your consideration, and allowing us to be a part of this city. It has been, and we hope will continue to be greatly appreciated. Respectfully, Stephen Martindale, owner of the Bonus Room.
Thank you. Any other citizen comments? Any other questions? Council? Okay. Sue? Oh, I'm sorry.
Sorry, she's the property manager.
Oh, okay.
Hello,
Name and address, please.
Mackie Allen, 7835 Glenbrook Drive, Beaumont,
And you are the property owner of.
property manager,
Property manager,
yes. Of Crossroads Partners,
and that is the.
Big Lot Shopping Center,
Big Lunch Shop.
as everybody calls it.
Go ahead.
And I just want to say I've never had any issues with the bonus room or the new one that's just gone in. They have worked together, which is wonderful. Actually, all three of them in town have worked together and tried to make it better. If they have one bad person at one room, they'll call and they don't let those back in. I don't have loitering. I don't have trash. I don't have any issues like that at the shopping center at all. I do have issues of losing Big Lots, Popeyes. I have two other tenants that's just barely hanging on. And I'm hoping that y'all will let them stay where I'll be able to get a chance to get other people in there where we can keep more business and growth. They do shop in the other stores over there. They have their dogs groomed while they're playing and they enjoy having that entertainment. But it's the keeping the shopping center up. I also have Jefferson City, which you see what that looks like, and that's not what I want it to turn into. We keep the homeless people away. We hadn't had any issues over there whatsoever. So I would appreciate it if y'all would let them stay.
Thank you.
Mm.
Anybody else? All right. Everybody good? Y'all good? Okay. Let's see. We will go to any council member comments at this time. I appreciate everyone who was involved, who took their time to come and give us their insight into what's going on. Thank you, from Republic for being here as well. I am gonna read this. I know it's not thing. This is a thank you letter from the Fetters Center. Fetters Center student and family members appreciate the many years of support from the city of Groves. Our organization has been in this community of Groves for over 50 years, and we love our city. Thanks from Roxanne. It's also signed by all of the students at the activity center. And if you don't know, we use some hotel motel tax to help fund the Fetters golf tournament through the Knights of Columbus. Which I believe this year they wrote a check to the Fetters Center for $19,000, I believe. Last year was 17, this year was 19. And that basically keeps them open for the entire year. So the city has been instrumental in doing that. It's a huge deal. So thanks for everyone who had voted yes for that. I hope to continue that. So any other council member comments? Don't forget, Confest starts Thursday night. Also, we have National Night Out as a joint venture between our fire department and our police department, because it's also Fire Prevention Week. Is that correct? So don't light anything, Fire Prevention Month. Don't light fires this month. Good thing we don't have any fireworks in the month of October. That's great. So, it is National Night Out tomorrow night, Tuesday, October 7th, 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. It will be at the fire and police station at 4201 Main Avenue and 5911 Washington Boulevard. Lots of stuff going on. Meet all the locals, first responders, bounce houses, kids activities, face painting, food, drinks, raffles, coolers, tumblers, safety info, and then also a huge joint effort between our Groves, police and fire department as well. So, if you don't have anything to do, please attend. Also, hopefully good weather for the Pecan Fest for the weekend.
We have a Dunkin' booth too,
Oh,
and, Marshall Robin and, myself will be in there, so
Oh,
dunk the Chiefs.
Can I buy some tickets now?
Brought you some already.
All right, lots of stuff going on in the month. We have a bunch of meetings and we have a bunch of things that are good for the city. So please get out and attend all of these events. That being said, we will adjourn this work session at 6:20. Thank you all so much.
I know you get.
We will call this meeting to order at 6:26. All right, we need to do the prayer, the pledge of allegiance. Would anybody like to do the prayer?
You do an excellent job.
Thank you so much, but, all right, we'll do the prayer and the pledge. If everybody will stand with me. Okay. Bow your heads with me. Heavenly Father, we come to you today to give you thanksgiving. Thank you for the town that we live in and we get to support and that, we get to give back to the community and be a part of this great community, Lord. We ask you to help us make good decisions tonight, Lord. Let everything we do be pleasing to you. Bless this meeting in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I didn't know if I was supposed to be saluting that flag or this flag. I started the state of Texas. Okay. All right. Roll call
Ms. Canals,
here.
Ms. Tice,
Here.
Ms. Hoyt,
Here.
Mr. Gary, he emailed that he'd be absent.
Yes.
Mr. Lofton.
Here.
Mr. Howell. Mr. Gillespie. All right, we do have a quorum.
All right. Want to welcome any guests and news media that's here.
That was this morning.
Yeah, that was this morning. They were here at 5:45. And, we got any report from any board members? Any reports? Any new businesses?
Provided the financials as I
Okay,
have in the past.
all right,
Another good month. We are looking at basically being 2% ahead year over year, which is still an increase, but again, it's not as strong as previous years have been. One other thing I did include with the financials, is a copy of the guidelines and application form. So please, as you're visiting with the potential grantees, make sure they're getting the right form if you can. And I'll try to find a way to get it on the current but soon to be old website.
I was gonna ask you that because I just been copying the one that you had sent to us, so.
That's all right. This is in the new packet and I'll send it, and I think I sent it as a separate attachment as well. Either way, I'll resend it out again.
Okay, thank you.
But yes, the city and de facto EDC will be transitioning to a new website in the very near future.
Okay,
Which
that's why I have y'all call.
quite an experience.
He said it to me. It was young, so I think that.
Right. Any citizen comments? No citizen comments? All right, we'll get into our regular agenda. First, we need to move to deliberate and act to approve someone to move to approve the act. Approve the minutes of the September 2nd, 2025 GEDC meeting.
Make a motion that we approve the minutes of the September 2nd, 2025 GEDC meeting.
A second.
All right. Everybody looked over it? Everybody's good with it? We need to vote? Names are going away from them. The old person.
I'm late.
But I know, Lane, but I always remember your last name and.
Oh.
Yeah, Howard. There we go. Thank you. I'm so sorry. Mr. Howard.
Aye.
You don't know his name either.
It's Monday.
Ms. Hoyt.
Aye.
Ms. Canals. Aye.
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 Okay, thank you. And thank y'all for helping me there. All right, So motion passes. Now we need to make a motion to deliberate and act on awarding a GEDC grant reimbursement to IC Donuts located at 3855 Main Avenue for advertising. Do I hear a motion?
I'll make a motion that we grant the request for Icy Donuts for the reimbursement of advertising expenses at $2,500.
Do we have to make the motion to deliberate and act first?
We're making a motion and we will vote on the motion after we deliberate.
Yeah.
So we have the motion, we need a second.
Okay, but I think it,
Her motion is okay if somebody wants to second it.
okay, all right, okay. I just was making sure.
She jumped right to it.
Yeah, that's fine with me. Yeah, no, we said we
City
was
council
gonna,
business, that's how it
That's
is.
correct.
we were gonna jump on it.
Just all right.
Okay. All right,
Still need a second.
Yes.
Oh,
Second.
Ken seconded.
Okay, no.
let me see. All right, so the amount is,
It's a $2,500 cap for advertising.
so in this, she spent $3,700, so it's the cap amount,
Mhm.
okay? All right. All right,
It looks in order.
yeah, everything looks in order. So we're ready, are y'all ready to take a vote on it?
We need to amend the motion to include the amount.
She included them out in her motion.
You did, that's why,
Right
that's
on.
why I was like,
Okay.
okay. So, Mr. Howard? Aye. Ms. White? Aye. Myself, aye.
Aye.
Aye, Ms. Bates? All right, motion passes. Now we will deliberate and act on awarding a GEDC grant reimbursement to W. Williams Air Conditioning LLC located at 4401 Lincoln Avenue for exterior advertising. This was on their van route. Did y'all get more than one vehicle route? Thought so. So you're only put one in here?
Just.
Cause it met the cap?
Yeah, I'll do the next one next month. I'll do that one next.
With the
It's
cap,
The yearly cap.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought,
Yeah.
so. I'm still working on the flagpole, still working on getting the flagpole.
Okay.
you wanna make a motion just like you did?
Will, yeah, make a motion that we grant the request for W. Williams Air Conditioning for reimbursement of a advertising expense of $2,500.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. We'll take a record vote. Mr. Howell?
Aye.
Ms. White? Aye. Myself, aye. Aye. Okay. Motion passes.
That was easy.
All right. Do you have any board member comments?
We got a lot going on.
Yeah, we have a lot going on.
Yeah.
I hope to see every one of you.
What's going on tomorrow night?
Tomorrow night is Grove's Night Out,
National Night Out.
National Night Out. Grove's
And the
National Night Out.
firemen's.
And they're gonna actually do the fireman and open house. I think they're gonna continue to do this annually.
It's fire and police combined.
Fire and police combined between the two stations. They're gonna have everything that they've had in the past and more. I know the, Old West Smoke Company will be out there and they'll have some
Gator
good
Country will be out there.
Gator food and Gator Country,
A lot of stuff.
a lot of stuff. And we're gonna see y'all out there. And then we're gonna see y'all at the festival starting Thursday, Faith Praise and Worship Night. We're expecting a big youth movement, due to recent circumstances within the nation. So we're really looking forward to that. There seems to be a revival among the youth right now.
Yes, God is
And
on.
that's, yes. And so we're super excited about that. And then, Friday night, we will have, local band called, Moondog Howlers, and that's some classic party rock there. And the football game is away in Splendora, so we'll wish them well. And then Saturday, we have, with the Brutes coming from Catalina Wine Mixer, which we've had a couple of times, we have Sugartown. It's gonna be 90s country. So we're gonna get a little Yellowstone out there, I reckon. But, we just hope Rip keeps Beth at the house, but. But, Saturday, that'll be them, and then Sunday, we have added Cajun Sunday to the lineup, and we have Gino De La Fosse coming, and we're gonna have some French rock and boogie. So we have a pecan toss we've added this year. Avenue X is gonna be there and get out some pent up frustrations if you need to. And we're just gonna have a really good time. We've got a few new food vendors, a few new out of towners. We put some heads in beds this year with some Houston vendors that are coming, and they've already rented hotel rooms and things like that. And in that area, some things we haven't had before. Co-Korean is gonna join us this year as one of the food vendors, so we're happy to have them give a little mix up on our, have more of a variety with our food vendors. But we have those same good old people. The pork kebabs will be there first in line and things like that. Now they've got a new super grill that they brought in on a truck and made a big production of, and so we expect the same lines, but maybe a little less. We're gonna a little faster. I think they got a workout this weekend at the at the Rice Festival, and so
That was their practice run.
that was their practice run for us. Yeah, and they already posted that they're headed here, so we're looking forward to it. It's just our car show on Saturday was amazing. We had the best weather for it. We had a great turnout. We had 36 cars. And that may not seem a lot, but that's a lot. And they were all the way down on that Lincoln side. And then we parked some up here and some in the front where the food vendors usually are. But, I've gotten phone calls this morning from some of the car clubs and telling us how good it was, and they can't wait till next year, and that just excites us so much. And we're so happy that we're blessed. We're supposed to be blessed with good weather this year. This is 3 in a row. And I'm just like, so excited. So
A little incentive for the National Night Out. There's a dunking booth. And I do know the fire chief and the city marshal have volunteered. I think there's a couple others.
this is gonna be fun.
So, and it's not with a ball, but with a fire hose, which I'm curious to see how.
That's gonna be so even better. That's gonna be so fun.
Instead of trying to hit that target with the ball, that way you pitch, this is just holding that hose. Anyway, it'll be something to see.
I've had some people calling me, texting me, messaging me, asking about commercial properties in the area. Some of them don't really tell you what they're looking at doing. They don't wanna jinx it per se or whatever, but they've been asking for listings of commercial properties and stuff like that. And, we're really trying to foster a program that draws people to want to come and open their business in Groves and.
Regarding the old hospital property, I can't go into a whole lot of details, but I can say there has been some forward movement on getting that project underway.
That's exciting. That's very exciting to know. Very exciting. We did the chamber participated in the BBB's women's conference, and we did a whole Love on Lincoln campaign again. We had the courtyard wildflower, stacked, and even the tattoo shop we included in on it. Get your ink before your ink dries, so, but we trying to combine that all in. We had a great turnout. We had our first bride at 15 minutes before the doors opened. She was one of the vendors, and she came in. She had been engaged 3 days and was getting married in 2 weeks, which will be this weekend. And she ordered a cake from Stack right then on the spot, and it just went, and we gave her all the numbers she needed, gave her a little goodie bag she could call everybody, and she was sitting there between visits to her booth and handling her wedding. And we did receive some new businesses with the chamber, and it was great to come back to the office, and the next morning there's 2 or 3 people that have joined the chamber online, and it was amazing. So we have been very, very blessed recently and through the last 2 or 3 years, and I'm very thankful for all of you that put in for the community what you do.
Just let Betty know she's doing a great job. We
I will
appreciate all her
let
hard
Betty
work.
know. I will let her know. She'll appreciate that. So,
And maybe you're doing all right too, Lisa.
yeah, well, I try. And when Betty lets me. When she lets me. I told her today, somebody said, who designed the t-shirts? And Miss Betty was like, pouring all the sugar on it, Lisa, she's so talented and all this. I just said I did it on her authority though. So, but, what would we do without Miss Betty? That's why her do collections, because she's good at the sugar and spice and I'm more the red beans and rice, so. We appreciate all of you. And so at this time, nobody has anything else? And you're tired of hearing me talking? We adjourn at 6:42. All right, thank you. Thanks, ma'am.
I'll let you, I'll check ready by next Friday.
Okay.
Very good. Well done.
Y'all, if it's Friday, y'all gonna have to come pick them up.
I'm just right down the road.
Yeah, if you get them from Lamar.
Not this Friday, next Friday.
Next Friday, we're closed that week, but I was closed this week. You can call me and I'll come pick them up. I'll deliver to you. Okay.
Just come by and pick up the donuts, do you?
No, I'm gonna come back for some egg rolls.
I'll take you there.
All right. All right.
You put it up
Should we figure it out?
I love to.